welcome to this week's episode of Search and Report. I'm your host, True Fronty, and with that, let's get straight into the first news of the week. Ghost of Tsushima is getting a multiplayer DLC of some sorts. Here, Darren Bridges from Sucker Punch, the senior game developer from Ghost of Tsushima, says, "Today I'm very excited to reveal Ghost of Tsushima Legends, a new online cooperative multiplayer mode that will come as a free download for Ghost of Tsushima owners on PS4 later this year." So yes, if you own Ghost of Tsushima on PS4, which you probably do, it's not on any other console, you'll get free DLC coming later this year, in which you can play with other people, do sort of like squad missions, or you can do co-op missions as well. Here, Darren Bridges says, "Legends is an entirely new experience. It's a separate mode that doesn't follow Jin, the main character, or the companions from his journey, but instead focuses on 4 warriors who have been built up as legends and stories told by the people of Tsushima." I never know if it's Tsushima or Tsushima. I don't know. Ghost of Tsushima single player campaign focuses on an open world and exploring the natural beauty of the island, but Legends is haunting and fantastical, with locations and enemies inspired by Japanese folktales and mythology, and an emphasis on cooperative combat and action. So, Ghost of Tsushima Legends is going to be a basically completely different game from the single player game. Here on this PlayStation blog article, it says that if you're playing Ghost of Tsushima Legends with 2 players, you'll be able to play a series of co-op story missions that escalate in difficulty, building on the foundation of combat from the single player campaign, but with new magical twists that often require careful synchronization with your partner. So it seems that the co-op missions are going to have you be very reliant on the person you're playing with. And as far as the 4-player method, this is more of a squad type of mission. Here it says that with 4 players, you'll be able to take on wave-based survival missions, fighting groups with the toughest enemies Tsushima has to offer, including new Oni enemies with supernatural abilities. So it seems that it's not all gonna be sword fight or sword combat. Apparently there's gonna be some supernatural abilities from the enemies. Maybe since you can also choose the type of warrior that you are, you can choose between 4 different character classes, which are samurai, hunter, ronin, or assassin. This gives Ghost of Tsushima a way wider range of abilities and game styles. I'm super excited for this. I love Ghost of Tsushima. I'm still playing it over on my Twitch channel, which I'll link down below. It's a great single player open world action adventure game. The combat system is very complex, but it's very fun to get better at. So I'm really excited to see what they add to the combat, as far as like the supernatural abilities, as far as the enemy types, see what they have, see how the different classes, the different character classes affect combat with how you play this game. There's still no date as to when this DLC will be released, but as far as I can tell, this is a free DLC update to Ghost of Tsushima. So PS4 owners, Ghost of Tsushima fans, you got something extremely amazing to look forward to. On our second news topic of the week, we have Black Myth Wukong, a new game announced from a Chinese developer. Here, Daniel Ahmad says, "Here's a look at Black Myth Wukong, a new single-player action-adventure RPG game developed by Chinese indie studio Game Science Studio. It is based on Journey to the West mythology. The game is planned to release for PC and consoles and is using Unreal Engine 4. There's still no release date." I saw the entirety of this gameplay demo, and I must say it is a very impressive looking game. The combat looks very smooth, the graphics look amazing, which kind of led me to believe this is going to be a next gen game, which also kind of leads me to believe that this game will probably not be released up until 2022, 2023. There are arguments saying that this demo is was only released to garner attention from investors, because this indie studio is still hiring people for their team to further develop this game. Here, Daniel Ahmad further states, this studio has created something like 3 games in the past which have focused on mobile PC players. These games being, Art of War, Red Tides being the most well known. This will definitely be a new challenge for them, and I hope they can pull this off. I hope they can pull it off as well. I'll show some footage here of the gameplay demo. It looks amazing. It's of course using the Unreal Engine, but it looks amazing. I honestly, this is a game that I'm gonna be looking out for. I love this type of combat. It'll be interesting to see how this game's development cycle goes. There's obviously more information available on the game website. It's all in Chinese, unfortunately, but there's also some recruitment info. It seems to be that this studio was established in 2014. It's worked only on 3 games, but interestingly enough, it has some very talented and very experienced staff. A lot of them have worked previously with Tencent games, and some of these developers have an experience over 13 years. So I'm very hopeful. I'm hopeful in this game's development. I hope Microsoft and Sony have eyes on this game, and hopefully they'll be able to give them a platform, or at least help them publish this game in a more meaningful way. It'll be interesting to see when this game gets released. The combat seems to be kind of fleshed out. We'll have to see what the world building is at. But yes, Black Myth Wukong, single player action adventure game from Chinese indie studio Game Science Studio, will be definitely something to be on the lookout for if this is your type of thing. On the third news item of the week, I do not like reporting on rumors. I don't like reporting on hearsay. I like giving accurate information in this show, but this is something that kinda has to be spoken about. It has to be spoken about because it's a little bit of a coincidence with just how many rumors there are currently coming out for Nintendo, but there was a listing for a collector's edition of the upcoming Zelda Breath of the Wild 2. Here, Nintendo Live says a listing for a collector's edition of the upcoming Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 has been spotted online, potentially giving the game away on a secondary fancy physical release. This listing in question can be found on WTNT, a French retailer which previously leaked the existence of The Witcher 3 on Switch ahead of time alongside several other sites. Obviously take this with a grain of salt, because this same site has a listing for other games such as Metroid Prime 4 for release on this year, and if we're being realistic, I don't think that's the case. I don't think Metroid Prime will be released this year. I'm almost certain of that. But with more and more listings from Zelda games being announced for the Switch, I thought this is more than a coincidence, because also earlier this week Amazon UK happened to list a Switch edition of Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. They obviously took it down once word got out. I'm imagining they don't want to perpetuate any false listings, but it is notable to see just how many listings are actually being created specifically for Zelda. These rumors have been gaining traction more and more, given that this year is Super Mario Bros. 35th anniversary, and there's rumors of a 3D Mario game collection coming out hopefully this year. There are some legitimacy to these reports, but it is interesting to see just how many listings are being leaked, so to speak, for Zelda, given that next year will be The Legend of Zelda's 35th anniversary. So I just wanted to report it because it is a little bit of a coincidence. It is, but it's also kind of interesting to see how these listings keep happening the closer we get to the end of the year. And now for our fourth and final news item of the week, we have official confirmation that the Switch will be coming to Brazil. I'd imagine all those "come to Brazil" comments worked. In all seriousness, this is amazing news for the South American country. It's basically common knowledge nowadays, for gamers specifically, that Brazil has an extremely high import tax. So a lot of gamers in Brazil, if they wanted to buy, for example, a Switch, they would have to pay for the full price import tax and obviously an elevated pricing from the retailers, mainly because of the import tax. Here, Nintendo Life says the company took to social media today to share a message to Brazilian fans, saying that it is excited to announce that the console will soon be launching in the country. The announcement will no doubt come as a very welcome surprise to Nintendo fans across Brazil who haven't enjoyed the same opportunities as many of us around the world to check out recent titles. Further, here in this article, Nintendo Life says, despite being popular in the country, those interested in buying a Switch or any of its games have been forced to import them from elsewhere until now, often at high prices. It wasn't until, last year that a group of Brazilian development studios, content creators, and even fans gathered to create somewhat of an unofficial Nintendo Direct. That's just how small of a presence Nintendo had in the country. Obviously, this Nintendo Direct was created so Nintendo could see just how much of an appeal there is for Nintendo games and consoles in the country. So it seems to have worked. I'm imagining they either came up with a deal with the Brazilian retailer or they kind of worked out their own import tax rules of some sort. I really don't know, but this is great news for anyone down in Brazil. If I do have any Brazil viewers, please let me know what you think about this. If you have any unique perspectives regarding, the whole importing of video game consoles and video games in general, please leave a comment down below. This is something very interesting to me. I don't know. It's amazing to me that it took Nintendo so long to actually start selling Switches down in Brazil, being that Brazil is one of the biggest economies in South America. But with that, I leave off the questions to you. What do you think of this news of Ghost of Tsushima getting DLC for multiplayer? My opinion, that's amazing. The more content, the better. I'd be surprised if Ghost of Tsushima isn't a contender for Game of the Year. It's really that good. It's maybe I am a little bit biased because games such as Breath of the Wild are some of my favorite. I love action adventure open world games, but it does deserve its praises. I feel it deserves it. I feel it deserves the praises. DLC is going to be amazing. It's something that you often don't see very much in open world games if it's not GTA or so to speak. Well, what do you think of this new game from the Chinese indie studio Game Science? Do you think Black Myth Wukong will get the attention it deserves? Do you think it will be released in a timely manner? Do you think it looks great? What do you think of the demo footage that I've shown here? In my opinion, I'm super excited for this. The combat looks amazing. It looks very concrete. It seems that they have something good in their hands, and they've solidified a pretty good combat system as far as I've seen. It'll be interesting to see who actually invests in the development of this game. Hopefully it does get the attention it deserves. And what do you think of these Zelda listing leaks, so to speak? Do you think they have any validity behind them? As I said, I don't like reporting on anything that's not concrete, on anything that doesn't have sources behind them, but it is interesting to see just how many of these listings have been happening in the past month or so, especially with the 35th anniversary of Zelda coming up next year. Do you think they're probably going to do something similar as to what's rumored to be happening with 3D Mario games? I don't know. I'm a huge Zelda fan, so hopefully it is true. Just please port Wind Waker for Switch. I feel Wind Waker is probably the best game to have on the Switch. It'll shine extremely well on the Switch. And what do you think about Brazil finally getting their own Nintendo support down there? In my opinion, that's great. Hopefully this will stop price gouging down in Brazil. Hopefully Brazilians have a more accessible way of getting their games. Hopefully import taxes are not as bad now that Nintendo's gonna provide official support and official stocking down in Brazil. But with that, folks, I've been True Fernie. If you like this video, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe. If you didn't like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs down. Every bit helps. Please let me know what you want to see more of. I welcome any and all feedback. Please, please, please. Thank you very much. Links to my socials are down below. Please make sure to follow me on Twitch, where I stream Mondays, Wednesdays, and Sundays. I've recently become an affiliate, so any and all support is welcome down there. Please take care of each other, but most importantly, take care of yourself. Peace.